Okay, so I've already been over this. I've had the same problem with my other class today. Today is January 25th. This is EDU 626. Currently, we have two groups working in breakout rooms, and they are working on the scaffolding and action activity. They are basically coming up with a scenario where group of students are in a gap area. This means they do not understand. It could be reading or math. They have to have a standard tied to this. They'll have to select that standard, and then they will have to go in and explain how they went about scaffolding this gap area to our students to help them master. They will follow the sequence there on the screen where it says I do, you watch, meaning I do as the teacher and the students watch me. Their strategy will reflect this. Then they will go into I do as the teacher and the students will help. They'll showcase that. And then next they will do, the students will participate by doing and I will help. And then the last one is the students will do it and I will watch. And by creating this strategy and by letting them participate in this way, then by the end of the actual remediation time, you should see more students coming out of the gap area. So that's what the two groups are working on right now. This is just being recorded for the third time. I think this class started because I keep having issues with the record button. So this is the third time I've said this. So hopefully it's going to stick this time. And this will be a part what will be showcased in the studio. If you want more clarification or more explanation, or you just want to watch it all over again, you can do that by clicking on the studio and then going in and finding your class. The video will be there. This is especially nice for students that are absent. We have a few that are not with us and some that have never checked in, so I'm not sure what their status is, but the video will be there. All right, so at this time, I'm going to pause the recording, and then we'll come back and I will tape the ending of the class where the students are presenting out. Looks like room one will be here in a minute.
Can we keep the same groups?
No.
Please, please, please.
No. We'll mix it up.
Oh, sad face.
I know. They must not have been finished. Here they come.
Oh, we're back.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you had a chance to get to know your colleagues. I've already had a request to keep the same groups throughout the semester. Everybody must have gelled well together, and that's what I like to hear. I'll try to keep it fresh and mix you up again because I think that's important that you might meet others from the other group and you might like them as well. All right. I don't know. Y'all may all know each other for all I know. Okay, so we'll have group one present out, and then we'll have group two present out. You can have a presenter or others can help you. Just carry us through and tell us what you did, what you planned, and we'll begin with group one. Somebody's got to be a spokesman. Is that our group?
All right.
Group
Yeah, so
okay.
Hello. Hi. So we'll just take turns going through it. Basically, what we started out doing was focusing on a standard that we were going to be using. Oh, let me share it. That'll make sense,
Yes,
right?
share your screen if you would.
Yes, let me share it. So we did go through and look for a standard. Let me know if everyone could see my screen.
Yes, perfect.
All right. So we're doing kindergarten.
Okay.
So the standard is the K and R 5.1 compose, put together and decompose, break apart numbers up to 10 using objects and drawings. So what we did was we created a I can statement. I can compose, put it together and decompose, pull apart numbers up to 8.
Cool.
We did create the chart to break it down as per the example you provided us.
Yes.
So then you would see that high level support, it would start off as the teacher modeling first. And then after modeling, what we would do was we would continue to model with the help of the student. And then we would moving to the next step, allowing the student to actually work on a problem showing and with the guidance of the support of the teacher. And then us stepping back as teachers and allowing the students to completely work through the problem. But it's kindergarten, so you're
Yes.
still hand holding as we
Yes.
go through. So then we just kept going, and I'll let my other teammates, you know.
Okay. That was
Do you want us,
excellent. Yes.
do we need to read the I do?
Yeah, just kind of read us through what you what the problem.
Okay.
I want to hear what your week, how you came about your weak area. What you had some lovely things down there at the bottom. Yeah, right here. Why are they struggling?
So we said the students may struggle with understanding the concept of composing and decomposing numbers because of foundational number sense, language barriers, attention challenges, and limited vocabulary exposure.
Yes.
And so what we did to already address this problem, teacher has taught the original lesson and also used intervention time to go over lessons and reteach students that have gaps in learning.
Mm-hmm.
We also looked at how will the strategies you will implement from this lesson increase student achievement. And we discussed the fact that abstract concepts are really hard for younger children. So being able to, children are very visual. And so being able to visually decompose and compose numbers help because they can see it, but they can also get hands-on practice with the manipulatives. And then how will you assess student progress? We had various ways that we as teachers are able to assess student progress using quick checks or tickets, progress monitoring, and one-on-one assessments.
That is outstanding. What an outstanding job they did. Excellent. What I liked about that, it was right to the point. You nailed it. Everything I asked you did. That is perfect. And also, we know that there's always going to be some of our kindergartners who struggle more than others because of their limited exposure to school. I mean, not all children go through pre-K. And you should understand that as a kindergarten teacher. You're always going to have that group that maybe for whatever reason didn't attend and will always be somewhat significantly delayed throughout the year. However, things magically happen in kindergarten, and after Christmas, bells and whistles go off, and children what? They just turn it on. So you cannot count them out, but you certainly have to understand where they're coming from. And you did that beautifully here. Thank you so much. Excellent job. Let's give round hands for group 1. That was outstanding. All right, group 2. And that is also a very hard concept for even your higher level kindergarten children. If you've ever taught kindergarten, that is a hard concept for them to understand when you decompose numbers. Yes, Kelly. Kelly Reed.
I was applauding.
Oh, I'm sorry. I saw your hand. You had a question. Okay. Good. All right, group 2, let's go. Whoever you are. I think you're muted. Muted. We can't hear you. You're good.
Okay, can you hear me? This is Kim.
Yes, Kim. Yes, we can hear you.
Hi. For group 2, our scenario was our standard was identify, describe, and compare basic shapes encountered in the environment and form two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional figures. Our gap area was group A. We had them in groups, so during rotation, we figured out that group A had difficulty identifying the difference between two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. And the scenario basically was during small group rotation, students identified the difference between two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional figures. And like we said, group A was the group that has the issue. That was group A was this group that was struggling because they had no prior knowledge of two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. For example, like we were saying as a group, those coming in from pre-K, some who had no knowledge of being in a school environment before. And the question was, what have you done to already address the problem? Students were exposed to the real life objects such as exposed to shapes in this that they see in the daily environment. For example, we were discussing as a group, with them identifying like this, the clock in the classroom is a circle, to have them to compare real life objects and then differentiate the difference between two-dimensional and three-dimensional objects using real life. And how will the strategies you implement from this lesson increase students' achievement? To encourage students to express their thinking process, is to share the knowledge of the shapes that just to share the knowledge. And how will you assess the student progress? To have students individually identify the difference between two and three-dimensional shapes by sorting. So as you can see in our chart now, I didn't share a screen. I'm so sorry.
No, she shared. One of your colleagues shared. You're good. Keep going.
Okay, so I'm good. Okay, good.
You're good.
Whew, thank you. I hear reading. Sorry. So now we're on the I do you what. So during corporate time in the morning, the teacher discussed the differences between two-dimensional and three-dimensional shapes. She sorted shapes based on if they were in two-dimensional or three-dimensional shapes, and actually she talked through each shape with the students. Okay, about where they may see a two-dimensional shape and a three-dimensional shape in our daily environment, meaning the classroom environment. Like I stated before, then I do you help teacher work with students to correctly sort the two-dimensional shapes and three-dimensional shapes, like on a T-chart. Mm-hmm. And then you do I help the teacher steps back and observe as the students begin to sort shapes independently, but offer support as needed. Teacher can also ask probing questions such as, what makes this a three-dimensional shape? And lastly, you do I watch, whereas the teacher allows the students to sort shapes independently with no assistant while observing. So that's what we spoke as a group. And that's it.
Very good. Very good. I love that. And they do have trouble identifying, especially the 3D shapes, and they really do have an issue with that as well. It's not always easy for them. Some may not know the 2D shape, so there is that. Do you have? I mean, not 2D, but just two. I guess it is 2D. I'm not even sure right now. All right. So anyway, you have made it through this class today. That is going to be it. We are rolling towards the 4th week of class, and you have so far sailed through it beautifully. I will open up the floor for any questions that anyone may have. I will ask you this. Were you able to establish an on-site location to do some observations upcoming in the 4th week? If you have, raise your hand if you've got that sorted out. Some people may still be working on that. If you are, remember by the 4th week, you should have that worked out and ready to go. Because the 4th week you're supposed to have at least one one place to go and observe. Yes, Sean, you have a question. Go ahead.
I might have started a little early, so I'm hoping I caught everything in my first observation. I did do kindergarten, and you did say you want us to try to stick with the same teacher.
Yeah, you can if it's where I'm not really worried about that. If you have to go to another classroom, and do an observation for whatever reason. If it's kindergarten, if you have to see 4 kindergarten teachers in the 4-week period, that's fine. If you can only see 1, that's fine as well. It really does not have to be one or the other. It doesn't have to be all kindergarten or all pre-K. Technically, you could see a kindergarten and then do a pre-K observation. All that is open-ended, just as long as you have that 4-hour observation.
And do you
Does that
mind
make
if it's
sense?
do you mind if it's the same subject matter? Do you want us to try
I
to
do
get
not mind if it's the same subject matter every time you go in there. I do
okay.
not mind. You may only can go in there a certain time, and I'm not going to get specific about that. If you have to observe them teaching reading every time, that is fine. Yes, Ursula.
It has to be kindergarten. It can't be any higher grade.
It cannot be anything higher than either pre-K or kinder. It must be one of the two. That is what this class centers on, and that's why it's asking you to observe that. So can't do 1st grade, can't do 5th grade, no. Mm-mm. So any other questions about that or anything else that I have not answered properly? Please reach out to me. Rachel, I apologize to you again because she had asked me about an assignment and I was talking to her about something totally opposite. So make sure you clarify when you ask me, because I am trying hard to keep up with everybody. It is hard sometimes. And so I have to go back sometimes and look at things a second time. So I appreciate your patience with me. But if you do have a question, don't hesitate. Please ask. I'll be glad to answer. Anything else as we're moving on?
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, go ahead, please.
The big project, did you mean to be due on the 1st?
It is due on February the 1st. Yes. That is the big project that you've had, I think, some video on. That is what is developmentally appropriate. That is taking the idea that you're going to create a learning center in a classroom of probably either it can be pre-K or kinder. And it should be something that is totally maybe not so much curriculum based, but something that is highly creative that you have come up with that you think that would engage students. It does have to be standard based. In other words, you have to have a reason for teaching it. And we know that with play-based learning, we're not just in there playing. We have an intentionality that we are bringing to the students, because we are still using standards when we're teaching using play-based learning. This is not something that you would want to see a lot of worksheets involved in. You would want to see students either perhaps making something, building something, truly something creative. Go back and look at the 2 examples that I have provided for you, and that should give you some sense of, okay, I've got to really create. This is not something that you're going to find in a book. You may find an idea, but you're going to actually go in and create this from the ground up. Does that make sense? Yes. It is due February 1st. So if you haven't started, you need to start now. The first thing I would do is I would do a brainstorming session if it's just you alone. And I would sit there. If you don't teach kindergarten, I would employ, maybe you have children that are kindergarten age. Maybe you don't. Maybe you can invest into spending some time with some nieces and nephews that are that age, or perhaps even you have activities around that you see children of this age group, and I would really seriously have a conversation with them. What interests them? What do you know? What do you recall from your own children, raising them, what they were interested in? Because interest has a lot to do with this project. Just like the girl that did the one on the superheroes, she wrote about the fact that children identify with superheroes. And that's where she got the idea to create the Learning Center, by using that concept of a superhero being a community helper. And then they went on to create a comic book, and they went on to do several other things. Okay. Another question that always comes up with this project, they'll say, well, how many standards should I have? Well, I don't know. I know that you should have enough that you are actually covering something and teaching something and students are learning, but I cannot tell you you need a certain number. But it may be just a math center where it's only math. It might be a center where it is only reading, or you might employ reading and math. That is all acceptable. It might be a center that centers on science. and it would only have science standards attached to that. Just make sure that you're reading that science standard and teaching what that science standard is asking you to teach. Many people get mixed up in this class, and they'll start teaching parts of a flower to kindergartners, and that is not a standard in science for kindergarten. So be very, very careful how you select those science standards. Science standards in kindergarten mainly center around classification, understanding the world around them, not so much about a key concept like the identification of the plants or, what the names of the parts of the plants are. So I give that to you. Social studies is a wonderful one to look at because there's so much there about the world around us. Of course, there is community helpers. A lot of people are enjoying, have enjoyed working with that concept. But there are other things too, such as the symbols of our nation. And there's all kind of ideas there in social studies for kindergarten. Any other questions? Thank you, Rachel, for asking that question. I'm sure others had the same question.
Thank you.
Yeah. And there is that, I think I did a walkthrough on this, didn't I? In their walkthrough, I made you watch. So, go back and watch that again. And then if you still have a question about something, you can always put it in an email and I'll try to answer it. I don't mind doing that. Okay. All right. Anything else before we tie it up today? All good? You seem good. You seem well. Okay. All right. Reach out if you have a question. I'll be glad to answer. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Don't forget to drop your answers in your Dropbox by 11:59 tonight so you get your points. Okay? All right. I'll talk to you later. Have a great rest of your day.
Bye.